Hello internet, and welcome back to another episode of Doggo Yaps. It's a series where I yap, and today we'll be yapping about the latest tier list of Honkai Star Rail. Now, with the recent version, we're introduced with two new characters in Yunli and Jiaoqiu. And in today's video, I'll be sharing with you what my opinions are on these two characters and how they fit in to Pritwan's tier list. Before we start though, here's some disclaimer. Everything I mentioned here is only my opinion and I'm not affiliated with Pritwan, so yeah, you want to flame someone, flame me, dude. Secondly, you can flame me, but just don't diss my bloodline or something, it's just an opinion on the game. And finally, this tier list will only focus on MOC. Of course, I'll touch on pure fiction and apocalyptic shadow just a little bit. And with that, let's start. With the recent version, Pritwan has listed their apex characters in these. At a glance, I find it pretty agreeable except for three characters, namely Gallagher, Harmony MC, and Boot Hill. Now, it is stated on the Pritwan website where characters are used in their optimal team comp and then ranked with this tier list. However, though, they also do consider other factors like versatility. And in my personal opinion, apex characters should be just characters that's just good. 99% of the time, you can put them in any team and they'll still perform really well, which is actually the case for most of them. But I would say Boot Hill and Harmony MC are both really easily not the case. With the case of Boot Hill, you definitely need Ron Mei for it to even function, and with the case of Harmony MC, you can't really use them anywhere but in a break effect team. And for that reason, I think I would move them one tier below to tier 1, right? They're still really good characters with their best team, so I would say they're still meta in this break effect meta that we're having, but perhaps not at the level of tier 0.5 apex level though. And the other character that in my opinion may not fit the tier 0.5 would be Gallagher. Now, don't get me wrong, Gallagher is incredibly strong, especially in the break effect team, and is still really good even without being in a break effect team. To top it all off, he is skill point friendly and is able to dispel debuff as well. However, in my opinion though, I wouldn't say he's at the same level as Fushuan and Huohuo, which Fushuan herself does not let anyone die on their team, while with Huohuo you can cleanse every single debuff nearly instantly. So strictly saying sustain wise, Gallagher definitely falls short as compared to these two gremlins. The thing that Gallagher would do better at would be the fact that he's skill point friendly and he excels in a break effect setup, especially offensively. So in my opinion, although it's understandable how he would be here considering the break effect meta, I personally would move into tier 1. But you know what? It's not that big a deal. He's really strong. And consider that the opening, because now we move to the meta characters, which the main point we have Jiaoqiu and Yunli. These are the two characters introduced in this version, and they are the characters that we really want to know whether or not they're good. On Pritwan's website, they have decided to rank Yunli and Jiaoqiu both on the tier 1. Let's just start with Yunli. Yunli is one of the most versatile DPS where she just needs to get hit and she'll do a bunch of AoE damage or single target damage. She can do it all. She has some healing capabilities to herself and she protects her team in the form of provoking the enemy so that they only hit Yunli. In terms of strictly damage output, she certainly isn't the highest, but she definitely gets the job done as well. She's a character that can be used in any mode under any circumstances and you can expect her to perform decently. As I always said, she's a jack of all trades. However, the problem being she's a master of none. If you look at the apex characters, you'll see that they excel immensely in one way or another, right? With the case of Acheron, her damage output is just that high. In the case of Ran Mei, she just gives you that much value of buffs. And in a turn-based game like Honkai Star Rail, where you have a whole team working together, sometimes it is better to have characters that are specialists in something, like say Firefly, which is a weakness break specialist, and she excels immensely in that, to pair with a break effect buffer like Ran Mei, where again she's second to none in that regard, will give birth to one of the strongest break effect teams of all time. In the case of Yunli though, she's that character where she does everything kind of, so if you decide to give her a bunch of crit damage, a tap of an action advance, you might find it more beneficial to give it to someone like Jingliu, where she may not have the survivability, but she does have the sheer amount of damage that you want to maximize. So in the end, Yunli is a versatile character that can do nearly everything you want her to do, which unfortunately does not garner her a spot as the top tier character, but still she is incredibly strong, so I would say putting her in tier 1 is quite valid. Moving up with the case of Jiaoqiu, which is the character that just came out. Now, Jiaoqiu is quite interesting because there are a lot of mixed reviews about him. There's certainly a lot of people who are advocate of skipping Jiaoqiu, considering, well, you already have a free Pella. But then there are people who are advocating Jiaoqiu as the best Acheron support, that if you're an Acheron main, you never want to miss. However, just strictly speaking, how Pritwin has ranked him, I personally agree that he would be in tier 1, but the problem isn't actually with him, but it's with the rest of the tier, right? We got Sirwolf and Tingyun, which are both really good characters, but if Sirwolf and Tingyun is considered tier 1, I would personally say Pella should be considered tier 1 as well, especially with how she has AoE defense threat, something Sirwolf definitely doesn't have. And even by comparing jiaoqiu directly with Pella, I would still say they're actually similar in terms of value. Jiaoqiu excels especially with the amount of times he can land debuffs, which helps Acheron a bunch. But based on the amount of value that he can gain by putting the Resolution Sweat Light Cone on Pella, the overall damage increase you'll obtain by using a Pella with that Light Cone is similar to what you can gain from, well, jiaoqiu. The only big difference is Pella cannot put as much debuff and as consistently as jiaoqiu. So as a conclusion, I do agree that jiaoqiu deserves to be in the tier 1 slot. He's incredibly versatile. He can do pretty much anything you want him to do. On top of that, he does have a foot into the dot scene where he synergizes perfectly with his fire debuff. But to compare his main job as a debuffer that amplifies your damage, he certainly does his job well. However, he certainly doesn't do the job that much better as compared to Pella and Sirwolf that I would rank him above any of them. So yeah, I would love to put Pella on tier 1, but that's just my opinion though. So with these two new characters coming in the game, should you be pulling either of them? Well, Yunli's already gone, so let's only talk about jiaoqiu. In my opinion, as usual, if you're an Acheron main and you want to make Acheron even better, definitely I suggest that you go for jiaoqiu. He's going to be the one-of-a-kind support in an Acheron team that you can't really expect anyone else to replace fully. A Pella can do so, but Pella definitely is worse than jiaoqiu in an Acheron team. But otherwise, if you just need a debuffer that increases your damage dealt, you do not necessarily need jiaoqiu. I would just stick with Pella and save for the coming character. And that will be for the two new characters. As for the rest of the tier, I do find most of them agreeable, except perhaps Bronya. I would still move Bronya to tier 1 because, well, she does have her issues, but I don't think she's that bad. I would consider her worse than even someone like Pella or Tingyun, right? The one other character that I would move up a tier would be Blade here. I do think by being skill point friendly and still being able to do enough damage to really be good does garner him the tier 1.5. I don't think it's the same tier as Himiko. Like, what happened to my boy Blade, dude? His damage help is still really good in MOC. His best team setup with, say, Bronya or Sparkle certainly still packs a punch. So I definitely think he's tier 1.1. And that will be all for the meta character tier, which I mostly do agree with them. I think it's a decent list. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And moving down from the meta characters, here we have the characters that would be cyberbullied and bullied IRL anyway. We got the niche characters and the forgotten ones. In tier 3, we see Pritwin ranking Argenti and Jay. Now, these two characters are not bad characters, but considering this is an MOC list, they are certainly not that great in MOC. The simple reason being, well, they are designed to be AoE characters, with Jay potentially being usable only with Eidolon. So for that, I think it's fair to put them in tier 3. This is only MOC, so do not get triggered. They are definitely top tier in pure fiction. In my opinion, Hanya still deserves to be a tier above this tier. I would put her the same tier as Asta. Although she's certainly not needed in pretty much any team comp, she still provides good attack, she still provides good speed on your DPS as well. Put a dance on her, you have a different type of Asta that generates you skill points, and that is pretty unique in her sense. I don't think she deserves to be in tier 3. And finally, we have the forgotten ones, which for like the 69th time in a row now, we got Arlen. Like, this guy needs help. In terms of physical troll baser though, it is kind of sad that the main character is shafted yet again, which, to be fair, the main character does get new forms, and with newer ones being stronger and stronger, but still, the older forms are nearly just unusable at all, right? The thing that I find to be most disappointed would be you building a character, right? And then after, say, 2 months, they are never used anymore. I find that to just be really wasteful, not just for your resources, but for the animators that design the characters as well. Like, say you had Yanqing when you started the game. He was one of the strongest MOC clearer in general, with his freezes and damage. But then just a month later, though, Yanqing has just directly fallen off ever since the first Elo banner gets released. It has only been a downward spiral for him. I hope they come back to these old characters and help them out so that anyone that enjoys a certain character, and well, it also does justice to anyone who designed their characters, right? I think Starlight has a really good balancing so far. If they introduce a side story or anything that could be a reason for older characters to get a tiny bit of buff or any unique mechanic to them, just to like put them up to the limelight again, I think it will do really well for the game. And that is the entire Pritwin chillers of MOC after the current version with the 2 new characters. In terms of pure fiction, certainly, well, it's a lot different, which I cannot cover everything in one video, but just look at Yunli and jiaoqiu though. As I've already mentioned, Pritwin's also agreeing that they are versatile characters that can be used anywhere and are good pretty much everywhere. But but they're certainly not the creme of the crop of pure fiction though. As for Apocalyptic Shadow, same could be said again, tier 1, again with Yunli, again with jiaoqiu. So I'm glad I recommended anyone who wants a character that can do everything to pull for both of these characters. And with that marks the end of my Yap Fest. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments down below, but please, I hope you keep it civil. And that will be all for today. Take care.